Have you ever felt like laziness is stealing your future? You know you're capable of more, yet you keep postponing, waiting for tomorrow that never really comes. This story is about one boy who lived exactly like that, until one event changed him forever. In a quiet town by the river lived a boy named Lucas. Lucas was sharp, clever, and could solve problems quickly. But he had one terrible habit. He hated effort. Every task that required hard work made him sigh, delay, or look for shortcuts. He lived with his parents in a small wooden house. His father was a carpenter, spending long hours carving, cutting, and building furniture to support the family. His mother worked in the market, selling bread she baked every morning before the sun came up. Lucas helped sometimes, but only in ways that required little energy. If his father asked him to carry wood, Lucas dragged it halfway and then sat down, pretending to be tired. If his mother asked him to deliver bread to customers, he stayed seated, calling them over instead of walking to them. Everyone in town knew Lucas was intelligent, but also painfully lazy. His father often worried, "If one day I fall sick, how will this boy handle life?" Still, since Lucas always managed to get by with half effort, his parents didn't press him too hard. One summer, everything changed. A brutal heat wave hit the land. The river dried, crops failed, and Lucas's father fell seriously ill. He could no longer lift heavy tools or chop wood. The family's survival now rested on Lucas. At first, Lucas tried. He went to the workshop, picked up the hammer, and worked for an hour. But his soft hands blistered, his back ached, and his body screamed for rest. Sweat poured down his face, his shirt stuck to his skin, and by noon he collapsed on the floor. Days passed, and unfinished furniture piled high in the workshop. Orders were canceled. The family's savings began to vanish. Neighbors started whispering, "That boy will never take responsibility. His laziness will ruin them all." One night, Lucas sat outside staring at the empty street. The stars above looked cold and distant. For the first time, he admitted the truth to himself. He wasn't just lazy, he was becoming a burden. He whispered, "Why didn't I ever try harder? Now it may be too late. My father's work is gone, and my family's hope is gone with it." The very next morning, a sound echoed through the town square. A soldier on horseback read an announcement. "Hear this! The king declares a grand challenge. Whoever wins will be rewarded with land, wealth, and honor." Gasps filled the square. Children stared wide-eyed, merchants murmured, and men clenched their fists in excitement. Lucas's eyes widened. This was it, the chance to save his family. Without hesitation, he stepped forward and signed his name. The villagers burst into laughter. "Lucas? The laziest boy in town? He'll never last a single day," one man shouted. Another added, "He'll probably nap during the challenge." But Lucas ignored them. For the first time in his life, he had a powerful reason to fight: his parents' survival. He knew he couldn't let laziness decide his destiny any longer. 3 days later, hundreds of young men gathered at the royal arena. The king himself stood on a balcony overlooking the crowd. The first challenge was announced. To reach the palace gates, you must cross the Great Canyon using only the materials around you. At once, men scattered in every direction, searching for ropes, wood, or vines to create bridges. Dust rose into the air as they dragged heavy logs and argued over tools. Lucas stood still. His heart pounded in his chest. He knew he wasn't strong enough to build a bridge. If he wasted his energy like the others, he'd collapse before even reaching halfway. So he did what he always did best. He thought. His eyes scanned the canyon. Just near the edge, abandoned barrels lay in a pile, thrown aside by traders. An idea sparked in his mind. Instead of forcing his way like the others, Lucas tied the barrels together with vines and created a floating path across the narrowest part of the canyon. The barrels shook and rocked beneath his feet, but Lucas moved carefully, balancing with outstretched arms. Meanwhile, the stronger men sweated under the weight of heavy logs, failing to build anything stable. Some slipped, some fell back, and others shouted in frustration. Slowly but surely, Lucas crossed. His heart raced as he stepped onto the other side. Against all odds, he had qualified for the next round. That evening, around the campfire, contestants mocked him again. "You only survived because of luck. Tomorrow you'll be crushed," one sneered. Lucas didn't answer, but doubt gnawed at him. Could he really survive the next challenge? What if his luck ran out? He lay awake long after the camp grew silent, staring at the stars, forcing himself to remember his father's weak cough and his mother's tired hands. At dawn, the second challenge was announced. Each contestant was given a massive stone block and told, "Push this block 2 miles to the fortress gates. You may choose one tool to help you." Nothing more. The stronger contestants rushed. One grabbed a rope, another picked a heavy plank to use as a lever. They flexed their muscles and roared as they dragged their blocks across the dirt. Lucas stood in silence, staring at the tools. His mind whirred. He knew he wasn't built for brute force. He would lose if he tried to match them. Then his eyes landed on a small chisel and hammer. The crowd laughed when he picked it up. A knife? A toy? He'll never move the block with that. Lucas ignored them. He knelt down and began carving. Bit by bit, chip by chip, he reshaped the block. The sun climbed higher, sweat rolled down his neck, his arms trembled, but he kept going. Hours passed. His hands bled, his body screamed to quit, yet he refused. At last, his block was no longer a block. It was a cylinder. Now, instead of dragging it inch by inch, Lucas pushed, and the stone rolled forward like a wheel. The crowd fell silent as they watched him gain speed. While the strongest contestants collapsed from exhaustion, Lucas's stone wheel rolled steadily toward the finish line. When the fortress gates appeared on the horizon, Lucas pushed with everything he had left. Dust flew behind him as the massive stone rolled faster and faster. He crossed the line before most of the others, qualifying for the final round. By now, the crowd's opinion had shifted. The same people who mocked him earlier now cheered, "The lazy boy has turned into the clever boy." But Lucas knew the truth. Cleverness wasn't enough anymore. To win, he needed something he had never used before: effort. And the final challenge would demand more effort than anything he had ever faced in his life. The king himself stepped forward and declared, "Tomorrow, you will climb the Iron Mountain. No tools, no tricks. Only your willpower will carry you to the top." Lucas's blood ran cold. A climb that steep? His arms were weak, his body untrained. There was no shortcut this time. His heart sank, and doubt whispered, "You'll never make it." That night, he sat alone at the edge of camp. He looked at his calloused hands, the blisters, the cuts. He thought of his father lying sick, his mother baking bread with tired shoulders. Tears welled in his eyes, and for the first time, Lucas prayed, not for an easier task, but for the strength to finish the hard one. The sun rose, bathing the Iron Mountain in golden light. Its jagged cliffs shimmered like sharp blades, daring anyone to try. Contestants lined up at the base, their faces tense. At the signal, they began. Some rushed upward, their muscles bulging with each pull. Others slipped quickly, the rocks cutting into their hands. Lucas started slowly. Every step felt heavier than the last. His arms burned, his legs shook, sweat poured into his eyes. But each time he wanted to stop, he thought of his father coughing in their small wooden home. Each time he wanted to turn back, he saw his mother baking bread in the market, holding the family together alone. Halfway up, Lucas slipped. His knee slammed against the rock, pain shooting through him. For a moment, his mind screamed, "Quit! You've done enough. No one expects you to win anyway." But then he remembered the laughter of the villagers who mocked him, the whispers of neighbors saying he would never change. He clenched his jaw, grabbed the rock again, and pulled himself upward. Higher and higher he climbed, while one by one the stronger men gave up. Their bodies had power, but their hearts lacked reason. Lucas's body was weak, but his reason burned like fire. At last, his trembling hands grasped the final ledge. With a cry of determination, he pulled himself onto the summit. He collapsed on his knees, gasping for air, the wind whipping through his hair. The crowd below erupted into cheers. The king rose from his throne and declared, "Today, this boy has proven that true strength is not in muscle, but in will." Laziness can be defeated when purpose is stronger than comfort. Lucas received gold, land, and respect, but what he valued most was something invisible: discipline. He returned home, no longer the boy who looked for shortcuts, but the young man who proved to himself that effort can conquer anything. Laziness isn't defeated by strength alone. It is defeated by finding a reason greater than your excuses. When your why is powerful, no obstacle can keep you from climbing your own mountain.